Well, hey, Carter, thanks for joining us and talking to the community about the topic of partnerships. So, before we jump into each of the stages, can you introduce yourself, kind of some of your background, but also frame up what are we talking about? What does partnership mean?
Absolutely. Thanks again, David. I'm really looking forward to our opportunity today to talk a little bit more. But to get started, I am a partner guy. I work in something called the channel. I've been doing the channel the last 6 of my 8 years. I'm doing a lot of the work in the B2B space. I spent some time working at AWS, predominantly working with partners that were coming and building technologies in the cloud. As you probably heard that buzzword, Apple Cloud, a part of that. Then I also ended up moving over to working at Oracle and helping support companies called system integrators. And those essentially are individuals that have a unique experience and knowledge around building our products. So I've worked through a couple different channels and partnerships, as we call them, in a couple different facets. But, today we're going to kind of roll it back a little bit and talk about partnerships 101 here, where I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. And really it is where two companies, it could be more than two companies, it could be multiple companies, come together on a joint value with a joint or agreed upon objective. So again, it's an exciting opportunity where, again, it is a force multiplier. It will allow you to really capitalize on, not just growing individually, but growing with somebody that can help complement you in such a way to really help you achieve scale. And with a partnership, you can do that.
Well, that sounds exciting. Let's go ahead and jump in.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Let's dive into kind of our first stage, which is in the model what we call the existential stage. So this is really early at the beginning. To the large degree, we don't even have a business at this point. This is where we're imagining what business would this be. So some of the things we're defining in that early stage is like, okay, who are we helping? What problem are we solving? Why do we want to solve that problem? How are we uniquely better than some of the other options that they have available? And so a lot of different questions in there. And you graduate from that existential stage when we put together like a solution statement that really clarifies like, okay, how are we solving our ideal client's problem? So there's a lot of forming of what am I doing? You may not even know what you're exactly selling, but you at least know what the problem is. So in that early kind of very formative stage, what things should people be thinking about related to partnership? What may be pitfalls to avoid, or any good resources that they could access early in that stage?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. You should think about that clear statement of what it is that I'm bringing to the table, my unique value proposition, and what is a complementary, we're going to use that word probably a couple of times, complementary, that can help me grow and scale my business. So think about it in the sense like, how do I go through fulfillment, going through a distributor? We call a distributor something like a Walmart or a Whole Foods, and you're a pasta company, and you're trying to figure out, how do I scale from going to one store to many stores? And it's thinking about building that relationship with somebody that you can sell to, sell with, and sell through. And so we'll talk about all those in more detail here, but it's really critically important to understand what a priority is with the channel and leveraging a partnership.
Yeah, that makes sense. That it would be, you're not necessarily forming partnerships at this point, but you're really, in some ways, I guess, kind of what you're saying is maybe even just kind of mapping the environment, going, okay, as I imagine this growing, who do I need to know? And like you said, building relationships, because partnerships are kind of a one and done type of thing. They're typically, longer standing, I imagine. And so you're wanting to build a relationship and really figure out, hey, who do I want to use and who do I want to partner with in these complementary relationships, right? Is that that's what we're thinking about here?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what we're thinking about. Like, we're thinking about building this business and figuring out, how does that business, take advantage of relationships and things that could be worthwhile investing in jointly. And we'll talk about this joint relationship where you're trying to share a business goals that align together. And if you can do that right, then you're really going to be able to help you scale quickly. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. Now, in that early stage, are there any pitfalls, any things? I mean, I imagine maybe one of the most likely pitfalls is just trying to create something too formal too early. Is that the main one, or is there anything else they should be on the lookout for?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's, you want to test it out. You want to validate. You need proof points. And if you don't have that, then you're going to be setting yourself for a recipe for disaster. You know, one of the things we like to say is, can you explain to me what your product does in a succinct way, like it's a headliner in a press release? If you can explain it to us that way, well, that's going to go a long way. Now, can you incorporate that in a partnership type of a sense with another company where you have a joint vision together? Then I think it really opens some doors. But you got to make sure you know what you're selling. If you don't know what you're selling, you don't have a really good idea around what you're doing, then it's going to be hard to really formalize how you're going to partner.
That makes a bunch of sense. Yeah. Well, in that sense, okay, let's move to that next stage then. All right. Well, as we've kind of walked through all these different stages, Carter, is there anything you want to kind of way you want to frame up just partnerships in general, things that some takeaways for our founders, our leaders that are watching this?
Yeah. Spend some time with your team. Really get to know the ideal partner profile. I even have this note right in front of me that even talks about it. It's just like, you know, going back to knowing your business goals, you know, find the right business model, whether it be distribution, whether it be an OEM partnership, maybe it be, you know, franchise, or maybe it's just a co-branded marketing partnership here. So really making sure that you craft that narrative, and that narrative evolves with you as your company evolves. Make sure that you're taking into consideration cultural as well. If the company you're working with doesn't share cultural things that are important for you as an organization, then you know, you could run the risk of having something that really doesn't pan out to being a successful partnership. So I think it's always going back to having those key components locked in. And then finally, understanding the motion of sell to, sell with, and sell through. I didn't touch on that too much, but I want to touch on it now. Is you can sell directly to someone with your own resources. You can sell with somebody. And again, that's where you're using their resources to help you sell their product potentially. And you can sell through them. And that's like a marketplace. You can use that pretty easily to think about like Amazon.com and going and using that as a procurement channel to purchase and buy products and have them be sold there. So if you can get that down to a T and understand again that value prop, we talked about that Better Together story, and spend time on it, because it's not easy. It's going to be one of the most challenging things for you to build that out. But if you can get that down to the T, then it's easy to go sell it, because if you can convince somebody else to sell your own product, then you're doing something right.
Yeah, I like that. That's really helpful. I think actually, yeah, this has been really helpful, Carter, as you've walked through. I'm sure people may have some other questions, which they can always come, and glad you're part of the community at Fiesta Connect, and so they can come in here and ping you, maybe ask some questions, grab some time. But yeah, thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us, and yeah, kind of walking through what does partnerships look like at each stage of business.
Thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate it.